Has the war in Iran come to an end? Well, according to the American president, it is close to being over. Donald Trump, in his latest interview with Fox Business Channel, has claimed that Iran wants to make a deal very badly. Listen in.
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
Now, the latest statement comes shortly after Donald Trump told New York Post on Tuesday this week that a potential second round of talks will be taking place in Islamabad. The conversation then diverted to the American blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and how China has reacted to it. During the interview, the U.S. president mentioned sending Xi Jinping a letter asking China to stop supplying weapons to Iran. Trump said that his Chinese counterpart responded by saying that Beijing is not sending any weapons to Tehran.
How does that change the dynamic of this meeting with President Xi?
I don't think it does. I mean, he's somebody that needs oil. We don't. He's somebody I get along with very well. He just wrote me a beautiful letter.
He wrote you a letter?
Yeah, he did. He responded to a letter that I wrote because I had heard that China is giving weapons to I mean, you're seeing it all over the place, to Iran, that China's
Did he
giving
say
weapons.
He's giving them?
Yeah, and I wrote him a letter asking him not to do that. And he wrote me a letter saying that essentially he's not doing that.
Now, shortly after the interview was aired, the American president issued this statement via a post on Truth Social. Trump said that he's permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz, which has made China very happy. He said, and I quote him, "China is very happy that I'm permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I'm doing it for them also and the world. The situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big fat hug when I get there in a few weeks. We're working together smartly and very well. Doesn't that beat fighting? But remember, we are very good at fighting if we have to, far better than anyone else," unquote. Now, remember, these developments come on the heels of consistent disapproval among Americans of the U.S. strikes against Iran and the global ramifications of this war in West Asia. In the latest survey by Ipsos, 60% Americans disapprove of America's war with Iran, while only 35% actually approve of it. All right, let me welcome my guest on the show. Mr. John Bynes is a strategic director, Concerned Veterans for America and United States Marine Corps, as well as the Army National Guard veteran. He's joining us live from Boston, United States. John Bynes, welcome to WION. Do you see this war ending? The American president has assured not just the interviewer, but also the entire world that it is very close to ending. And he's also given a reason that China is not going to be sending weapons to Tehran.
Well, I don't think that's the only reason, but I think Donald Trump very, very badly wants to end this war. As you just pointed out, it's not very popular here in the United States. It's also not very popular with many of our trading partners. It's causing disruptions in the global economy. Certainly, China is oil dependent on the Middle East, and they have very good reasons to want to help broker a peace. If the president says he heard that China is sending weapons, certainly someone within the American intelligence community has indicated that there are actual legitimate signs. It's not, it's not something that the president just heard offhand that he's acting on. So, it sounds to me like there's a lot of behind the scenes negotiating that includes not only the U.S. and Iran, but also, Pakistan, which is hosting the talks, as well as, China, which is, as you know, closely aligned with Pakistan. And obviously the president had a conversation with Prime Minister Modi yesterday as well.
So, one of the things that he said is that we're permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. That's what Donald Trump said. How, when, where, how has that happened? How has he said this, considering the fact that it is still blocked by Iran and, of course, America itself? It's blockade versus blockade.
Well, I can't speak to the details that have developed overseas in the last few hours. I think the president feels like we have a substantial amount of military power in the Gulf of Oman, and that he can force he's already sent several ships through the strait, that he can force the strait, that we can demine it, that we can hold the ground. And again, that might have been a big point of negotiations in Pakistan yesterday or last weekend, where We have Marine forces on the ground now. We have airborne forces nearby. We have these naval forces. If we had to seize terrain right there at the Straits, we probably could. He's probably made that very clear to the Iranians. And if we're very close to a deal, as he indicates, reopening the Strait could probably be a big part of it. It's also clear that it's open to who the Iranians want it to pass through if the U.S. doesn't stop them, which probably includes China at this point.
You know, it's interesting that the China factor is now being talked about so much, because at the start of this war, there were a lot of experts around the world who said that, you know, America is doing it perhaps to counter the Chinese dominance in the area in energy sector. And with, you know, Donald Trump now expected to visit China next month, how do you see the U.S.-China ties really moving forward? Because this is something that has evolved over a period of time. Last time around, during Trump's presidency, there was a trade war that happened between the two countries.
Well, America and China and India and the region have a complicated relationship. We have to navigate a future together, and it is much better for us to all navigate that future through diplomacy, through trade, through economic agreements. I think Donald Trump wants to have a good relationship with China, and he wants to have a good relationship with India. I think he's at the point where he wants peace with Iran. As you pointed out again, it's hurting him here in the polling. We have an election coming in November. But I think that it's better that we all coexist peacefully. There's going to be competition. There's going to be tension. But obviously, any war involving the United States and China in the Pacific region would be devastating to everyone involved.
That's right. So we'll have to see how this moves forward. I'll leave it there. John Bynes, thank you very much for joining us on WION.
Thanks for having me on.